Hi, I'm Neil Cannon, health coach and best-selling author. If you're over the age of 40 and are a man or a woman, live in the US or the UK or Canada or Australia, I have a very important message for you. Did you know that there is one single reason why you are aging faster than you should be? Do you know someone who's 40 and looks 45 and someone else who's 40 and looks 35? The chances are that the person looking older than their actual age suffers from a certain health condition, unknowingly. There is a hidden health hazard sweeping across the Western world that is causing people to age faster than they should be. This same hidden health hazard is also behind many illnesses people grow to accept as part of life. These include eczema, asthma, psoriasis, acne, Crohn's disease, IBS, and there are more. Last but not least, this same hidden health hazard leads to every chronic disease there is. Cancer, type 2 diabetes, type 3 diabetes, also known as Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, this leads to heart attacks and strokes, and also brain health deterioration. This hidden health hazard is behind all of these conditions: asthma, eczema, psoriasis, IBS, testosterone decline if you're a man, this is really important to know, Crohn's disease, arthritis, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and even cancer. Simply put, without this hidden health hazard, this silent killer, these chronic diseases cannot develop. You're about to find out what it is. I'll reveal to you what I call the disease guarantee. Once you know this, you'll be able to age gracefully. If you suffer from a related illness, you'll be able to manage it without drugs, and you will stand a far greater chance of never developing a chronic disease. Wow, quite a claim you must be thinking. In the next few minutes, I'm going to be sharing with you why conditions such as eczema, asthma, psoriasis, and IBS are all conditions that can be considered a gift. Yes, you heard me correctly. I'm going to be sharing with you why these conditions can be considered a gift. If you're not fortunate enough to have one of these conditions, bear with me, then there is another way you can find out. I'll share with you the blood test you can request from your doctor right now that will tell you whether you have this hidden health hazard. If they refuse to do it, I suggest you have a stern word with them and then pay for it yourself. It can be as little as $71 if you're in the US. This blood test may just save your life. It will tell you whether or not you must take action right now. So, what is the hidden health hazard? What is this silent killer? It's inflammation. Inflammation is behind all of these conditions. Before I go on, you may be wondering who I am and why on earth you should give up any more of your time listening to me. Inflammation is a topic very close to my heart. A few years ago, someone very close to me was diagnosed with chronic inflammation. It led to high blood pressure and a stroke, a very minor one, thankfully. This could have all been avoided had his doctor offered him the correct nutritional advice, or any nutritional advice. Sadly, his doctor was not educated in nutrition, as is the case with most doctors. Instead, he was offered medication to lower the blood pressure. All this did was mask the symptom of the underlying health condition, chronic inflammation. The chronic inflammation worsened unnoticed and he suffered a stroke. This is a textbook sequence of events. Please, don't let this happen to you. It is my aim to share with you how to reverse this condition so you are not reliant on your doctor, who is more than likely not trained in nutrition. Besides my latest book, I'm also a health coach, and I wrote a book 4 years ago to help men increase testosterone naturally. This was after figuring out how to solve a health problem for myself. I realized we are facing an estrogen epidemic, which is causing many problems with men. Little did I know how closely related inflammation is to low testosterone. This triggered my fascination and curiosity in nutrition and fitness, and since then I've delved deep into nutrition and fitness, and psychology in fact. I've interviewed lots of experts, learned from the best, and nothing gives me greater joy and satisfaction than being a major part in my clients' health and body transformations. So, coming from a nutritional background, I decided to investigate inflammation thoroughly. I read up online and offline, and interviewed experts. This is when I found out that the eczema from which I had suffered my whole life is an inflammatory disease. The asthma from which some of my family suffer is also an inflammatory disease. This brings me back to my outrageous claim that I believe these conditions can be considered a gift. We have determined that they are inflammatory diseases. We know chronic inflammation leads to every chronic disease. We know inflammation makes you age fast. Hopefully, you're piecing together this puzzle as well. If you're suffering from one of these common health problems, this is a gift because it's your body's way of telling you right now that you have an inflammatory disease. It's your body's way of telling you that what you are currently doing is not working. And if you don't change what you are currently doing, then there's a strong chance it will lead to chronic inflammation, and you will suffer, or you may suffer, from a much more serious illness down the road. I hope you're starting to see the big picture here. So here is the disease guarantee. It starts with inflammation, which can be harmless to a certain degree. That can then become chronic. Chronic inflammation then turns into disease. And alongside that, you develop insulin resistance. This is when you're exposed to very, very high levels of the hormone insulin due to excess sugar overload and carbohydrate overload. When you're consistently exposed to this hormone, it can become chronic, and then your cells become resistant to insulin, and you have insulin resistance and also type 2 diabetes and many, many other health conditions. So, what is inflammation? Inflammation itself is not much of a problem. In fact, it's a healthy immune response. So what is inflammation? Well, really there are two types. There's an acute version, which is typically an injury, and then we have a chronic version, which is an immune response. So inflammation is your body's defense mechanism. So inflammation is your body's response, an immune response to what it perceives as an attack on it. Think of a time you sprained an ankle or joint. The joint would have warmed up, swelled up, and become painful. This is your body's way of protecting it and you so no further harm is done. The fluids that surround it are designed to heal the damage. In a similar way, inflammation can occur elsewhere in your body, including your gut, where 2/3 of the immune system is located and is actually where all disease starts, and also in any vital organ, including the brain. It's a defense mechanism and exists for good reason. Sadly, when inflammation becomes chronic, it's what leads to almost every chronic disease there is. There is a clear and definitive pattern which you must stop in its tracks. The challenging part is that this means rethinking what you currently might think is healthy. It also means that for the most part you can forget that prescription drugs exist. All those do is cover up symptoms of chronic disease. I'll be bold when I say this. There is not one medication that treats inflammation at the core. They just mask symptoms, allowing the illness to worsen and cause damage in your body, often unknowingly. I used to suffer from eczema myself. Now, what's the Western treatment for eczema? Terrible steroid creams that have thinned my skin. I've actually lost pigment in areas where it was always bad. I was also given these moisturizers with toxic chemicals in them prescribed by my doctor, who I held in the highest regard. This surface solution for eczema is a perfect example of a symptom-covering solution that simply does not address the root cause. I'm now no longer a sufferer of eczema, for the most part. If you're an asthma sufferer, you'll more than likely be using an inhaler. This is a localized steroid inhaler that frees up the airways. Asthma is inflammation of the airways. The steroid appears to be alleviating the condition by allowing you to breathe. But have you ever stopped to think about why you have asthma in the first place, besides the fact that it can be hereditary? It's inflammation. It's an inflammatory disease. Did you know that you can reverse and manage asthma and eczema by reversing inflammation? It just means adjusting these three things: what you're putting in your body, what you're doing with your body, and managing emotions, namely stress, which is highly inflammatory. Stress, or how you manage stress, plays a vital role in eczema, as I've learned myself. It also becomes a habit. Eczema can become a habit. It can be pleasurable. It can be addictive. The psychology behind eczema can be really fascinating. Not for now though. Moving on. What about when there is no damage to the joint and the joints become inflamed and painful? This might be rheumatoid arthritis and has nothing to do with an injury. It's a reaction of your body. It's a defense mechanism. You're putting something in your body that your body does not like. Did you know you can reverse rheumatoid arthritis by simply changing what you're putting in your body? It's an autoimmune disease. This is when your immune system turns on itself as a result of inflammation. No drugs will treat this condition at the core. Think of it this way. Inflammation takes place when you consume toxins or are exposed to toxins. A more accurate word for a toxin is actually a poison. I like to think of foods that trigger inflammation alien foods. Your body does not recognize them and reacts as if they're foreign or alien invaders. Did you know that cases of asthma are skyrocketing due to environmental toxins and toxins or poisons in the food supply? So what causes inflammation? We have toxins and poisons. These can be environmental and food. We have stress. We have insulin resistance. Remember, that's continuous overexposure to too much sugar and even high glycemic carbohydrates that break down to sugar very quickly. Then we have lack of physical activity. It can also be a result of overactivity. If you exercise too hard, more often than not, it's a case of lack of physical activity, lack of moving your body. Insufficient micronutrients. Those are your vitamins and minerals, which seem to be disregarded in the modern Western diet or the standard American diet. These all lead to inflammation. So what is a typical toxin? Well, an obvious one is trans fats. These are man-made fats, often in the form of hydrogenated oils. The oil is heated to extremely high temperatures under extreme pressure, and a metal catalyst is added to it to make the oils more solid at room temperature. Does that sound like something you really want to put in your body? Hydrogenated oils and partially hydrogenated oils are used in foods to make them taste better and prolong shelf life. Most margarines contain these partially hydrogenated oils, as do many sauces like ketchup and mayonnaise. Real organic butter from grass-fed cows is far superior to margarine. Margarine is pure evil. Always read labels and avoid these poisonous foods. So, what's in my breakfast cereal? There are many toxins in breakfast cereals, which I won't go through now. There are other alien food types, including artificial flavorings and preservatives, added sugar, high fructose corn syrup, that's in so many things in the United States. Present in many packaged foods consumed regularly, including ketchup, breakfast cereals, healthy meal bars. Healthy in quotes there. There are many seemingly healthy meal bars which aren't at all. Almost every soda drink contains high fructose corn syrup. It's a horrendous ingredient. So here's the back of a typical breakfast cereal. It's shocking stuff. The key ingredients in this breakfast cereal are all inflammatory. Wheat flour, inflammatory. Sugar, inflammatory. Vegetable oil, palm, shea nut, and cottonseed oils, all inflammatory. If you don't recognize an ingredient, your body won't either. Other toxins include pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, and anything else that ends in an "-ides". Here's a guy spraying pesticides or herbicides. Here are more. You notice they're wearing this full body, head to toe, biological protective gear. They can't have even their skin exposed to these chemicals. And then what happens? We give these fruits to our children. Go organic as much as you can. Instead of seeing organic food as an expense, view it as an investment in your health and a donation towards a safer, better world for future generations. There are two staple foods that we consume in the Western world daily and regularly that cause inflammation. So here's a summary of some of the toxins. We have all the pesticides and herbicides, etc. Added hormones. If you're in the US, this is a big thing. Then we have genetically modified organisms such as soy, corn and wheat. Then we have artificial flavorings, preservatives, refined sugar, trans fats, and then we have a couple of staple foods. All those are toxins. You're probably wondering what the staple foods are. These are foods that you probably consume every day thinking they're healthy. You'll be shocked. Once you know why these staple foods are inflammatory, you will more than likely free yourself of these inflammatory staples. For now, just have a think about what is natural and what is not, what comes in a box and has a long shelf life. If you're still here, I suspect you want to know more, and you are trusting me to have stayed this long. So far, you have learned about a few toxins or poisons that trigger inflammation. I'd now like to share with you the fastest way to reverse it. Simply put, it's this simple. Introducing the inflammation solution. Hit the brakes on getting old. This is a 7-step system to reverse inflammation in 8 weeks. Here we go. We have psychology for success in 3 minutes. This is the number one secret to stay committed. This applies to everything actually, not just your health. Then we have inflammatory culprit elimination. Then we have cleansing and detoxification of all your vital organs. If they're not working properly, you can't get rid of inflammation and your immune system will be suppressed. Micronutrients and macronutrients. We're going to go through the importance of all of these. Oxygen intake enhancement. Believe it or not, many of us aren't breathing properly. We're not using all of our lungs very regularly throughout the entire day. So I'm going to be sharing with you how important oxygen is. Gut health and immune optimization. Disease actually starts in the gut. If your gut isn't healthy, you or your immune system will be suppressed. And I'm going to be sharing with you how to do this. Sleep and alleviate stress. So sleep is so important, and the alleviation of stress is super important because stress triggers cortisol, it triggers inflammation, and also suppresses your immune system. If I could help you reverse inflammation in 8 weeks, what would this be worth to you? Knowing that inflammation is the root cause of almost every chronic disease, knowing that inflammation is behind so many illnesses that we just grow to accept as part of life, including eczema, asthma, psoriasis, IBS, IBD, Crohn's disease, acne, even food and animal allergies. Knowing that inflammation accelerates the biological aging process, it makes you age faster. I think you'll agree with me now that you know inflammation is the root cause of all of these. Here we have it again. Inflammation at the core of all of these health conditions and disease. It's priceless what I'm about to provide to you. I do not want the price, or rather your investment in your health, to be a barrier. You can get your hands on the Kickstart system and say goodbye to inflammation for just $27. Now it's clearly, I'm being a bit silly with the $1 million pre-price here. I didn't want to give you a pre-price. I just wanted to put that there to make you realize, it is priceless. It's your life and you can't put a price to that. And also, I'm going to give you a 100% guarantee. If you do not see results within 60 days, I will give you your money back. This is literally risk-free. In fact, besides the amazing side effects of getting rid of inflammation you'll experience, such as an increase in energy. If you're a guy, you might realize that your testosterone levels increase, although you'll have to get another blood test to find out, but you'll find your energy increases. If you're a man or a woman and you're experiencing excess fat gain, you will burn fat with ease once you get rid of inflammation. It will balance hormones. It will make you feel amazing. Along with that, you can actually get a blood test right now and again in 8 weeks. The results will speak for themselves. The main one is C-reactive protein, and there are more in the full inflammation blood panel. I suggest to ask your doctor for this. If he or she says no, I really recommend paying for it. We need to have regular blood tests to determine our state of health, at least once a year, preferably twice a year. And we tend to spend more money on our own cars than we do our own health, which is, when you look at it, really quite crazy. So I do recommend getting regular blood tests, and start with this one. Get access to the inflammation solution for just $27. In addition to this, you will get my book, The Vitality Secret, as a bonus material. You will get the truth about exercise. Once you've read this, you will never not want to move your body again. You will see all these different benefits exercise has on your body. I like to think of exercise as physical activity. You don't need to completely overexert yourself, which can be inflammatory. It just stresses the importance of moving for your mind, your brain, and your body and your soul. So then we have the Mojo Multiplier book, which is the book about increasing testosterone naturally. If you're a guy, you'll love this. Or if you're a woman, you'll love your guy to have this. All for the price of just 2 expensive cocktails, just $27. Just press the Order Now button below, and in minutes you'll have in front of you a 7-step system to fight inflammation. This is the inflammation solution. Hit the brakes on getting old. Just hit the Order Now button below. Now, see you on the other side.